This issue is critical to returning America to sanity. Once the scales come off your eyes on this issue, now you'll start seeing the rest of the world differently. Because here is one of the biggest stories in sports. A'ja Wilson, the MVP of the WNBA, the greatest player in women's basketball that nobody cares about. She was caught on tape a year ago, preaching to, wagging her finger at, telling Kelsey Plum, her teammate, about her, white privilege and.
Us as black women, Paige reminds me a lot of you. Like, you say you're not really about me, and she knows how her privilege has gotten her to that point, and also like she's good at basketball, obviously. But like she understands her privilege and like what pushes her over the top in a sense. It reminds me a lot of you, and I mean that's a compliment.
A'ja Wilson, the WNBA's reigning MVP, is in a lot of trouble and on the brink getting suspended for life after attempting to play the victim card while sitting atop a mountain of luxury. Recently, in a viral video, she began waving her finger at Caitlin Clark, ranting about how white players like Paige Beckers should appreciate their privilege. A'ja, are you listening to yourself? The only thing you lead the league in are excuses. And next to that, you're almost out of the playoffs. Shouldn't you focus on playing ball instead of getting suspended?
Everything A'ja Wilson is saying is I probably tend to think it wasn't even on accident. Knew she was being recorded, knew it would get out there. And it was, because I think this was a year ago, and it's gone viral now this week. But to me, it was a message being sent to Caitlin Clark.
What sort of courage does it take to enjoy a lavish lifestyle and then point fingers at other players, complaining about their advantages? Seriously, A'ja, Caitlin Clark is out there earning her spot, smashing records, and putting the league on her back while you sit comfortably posing like a victim and playing the oppression card. That is absolutely ludicrous. Before you start casting shade, try to get off your high horse and compete.
A 5'8" white girl coming into the league with 85% black women that want to take your head off. Like, just straight up, right? Like, that's just what it is. And I didn't know. Me, happy-go-lucky, walking into the locker room like, hey, like, I didn't know.
Let us peel back the layers of this deceit. A'ja Wilson wants everyone to believe she is fighting against a huge, horrible system of tyranny. But let's not kid ourselves. She went to a private school with a $20,000 tuition fee. So, while she was sipping her fine espresso in a perfectly groomed setting, Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Plum were out there working hard to reach the top. Your life narrative is not a sob tale about injustice. It is the essence of luxury. Standing at 6'5", with a secure family background and every resource at your disposal, yeah, A'ja, you do seem depressed.
The sense of entitlement and the sour, bad, nasty attitudes that many of these players are exhibiting, I think exactly is one of the reasons why for the past 20-some odd years, nobody has cared about this league, why there is certainly an antipathy towards it. And quite frankly, I wouldn't blame anyone if they were just Caitlin Clark or Indiana Fever fans and only care and watch her games moving forward. Honestly, I think it's completely justified because quite frankly,
she attempts to educate people about privilege as if she has a monopoly on difficulty. A'ja, while you were offered every chance on a silver platter, Clark and Plum were out there earning their stripes, proving themselves over and again because no one was laying out the red carpet for them. If privilege means having the best coaches, schools, and route laid out for you, A'ja, you should review your own biography.
Being sent to Caitlin Clark of like, you want to come into our league, this is how you need to be. And I think it's a message to Nike.
No, A'ja just enjoys standing there covered in the shroud of victimization as if it will get her some brownie points. The hypocrisy is nearly too much to bear. A'ja, you're out here stating that these white players don't get it, yet you profit from your own type of privilege every day. Before blaming others, consider how you got to where you are.
many of you were the very same ones that was pointing the finger and saying you're racist and we don't want or need your support. So in theory, you're getting what you want and you should be happy for the lower ratings. So be careful what you wish for.
Because guess what? Players like Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Plum didn't get into the league because of their skin color. They earned it. But I suppose appreciating their hard work does not fit into your sobtail narrative, does it? So let's talk about Jason Whitlock's complete annihilation of A'ja Wilson. When it came to deconstructing the nonsensical stuff she said about white privilege, he didn't hold back. This is the same Aja Wilson who has probably never had to share a locker room with a broken heater, and yet she's out here lecturing everyone else about suffering. Oh, the irony is nearly overwhelming.
A 5'8" white girl coming into the league with 85% black women that want to take your head off. Like, just straight up, right? Like, that's just what it is. And I didn't know. Me, have to go.
Whitlock got it when he pointed out that she lives in her own privileged world and has the guts to complain about it. How can you keep a straight face when saying that? The Nike contract is the icing on top of this party. Oh, this is when the real comedy begins. After all of her bullshit about Caitlin Clark and so-called white privilege, Nike turns around and offers Aja a signature shoe contract. Like, what? So let me get things straight. She calls Clark out, throws shade about race, twists the story like a cheap tabloid, and now she's receiving the royal treatment from Nike?
Aja Wilson has a signature shoe and logo with Nike. No one's gonna buy her shoe, no one cares, but Nike's bending over backwards trying to please Aja Wilson and Don Staley and the whole BLM crowd we gotta promote Aja first. And so there's a mindset that Aja has to adopt to justify getting treatment she knows she doesn't deserve.
Nike must have lost their wits when they chose Aja Wilson over Caitlin Clark. It's like staking your whole salary on a snail to win the Kentucky Derby. Who thought it was a good idea to give over a multi-million-dollar shoe contract to someone who can hardly get excited? Aja, bless your heart, but let's get serious. Nobody's lined up to buy sneakers with your name on them. It's ludicrous. Just make sure you don't get banned, yeah?
And so there's a mindset that Aja has to adopt to justify getting treatment she knows she doesn't deserve.
Nike, you had the opportunity to make money with Caitlin Clark, the true superstar who had the entire globe riveted to their screens, but instead you went and supported someone caught in a victim narrative while Caitlin practically carries the WNBA on her back. Caitlin's jaw-dropping, record-breaking performances, draining threes from half-court like they're free throws, while Aja is busy screaming about so-called white privilege and attempting to spin the narrative in her favor. Caitlin is out there reworking the entire script. She is not just surviving, she is prospering. It's almost funny to see Aja try to make herself look relevant while genuine fans, people who recognize skill, rush around Caitlin. Caitlin's fan base consists of more than simply white folks cheering her on. Oh no, she's earned the respect and adoration of admirers from all walks of life, including a sizable contingent of black supporters who recognize her for what she truly is. A phenomenon. A game changer.
And I'm going to mention this again. One of the more interesting aspects of this fanhood is that some of the biggest supporters of Caitlin Clark are not whites. They're actually black males. So that has become something that for them, that word, problematic. And it's also set up a culture.
Meanwhile, Aja is over there holding her pearls and anxiously attempting to catch up. She's making every excuse in the book and telling every weary story she can think of, while Caitlin keeps pushing the limits of what's possible in women's basketball. It's like witnessing a marathon runner being lapped by someone racing a 100-meter dash. Aja is still gasping for oxygen, while Caitlin has already crossed the finish line and is rejoicing. Aja's attempts to bring Caitlin down are not simply sad, they are pitiful. Every time she opens her lips to whine about privilege, she exposes her own vulnerabilities. She's attempting to play the victim, but the more she says, the clearer it seems that she's afraid of being overshadowed. Aja, you already are.
When the Caitlin Clark shoe, whenever that is released, comes out, they ought to call it the air suppression. Because basically they are marketing Aja Wilson by suppressing anything having to do with the most popular player in the league by far.
Caitlin's legacy is already established, and every time you try to bring her down, you just make yourself appear smaller. Caitlin is the player that youngsters will look up to, and she is the one that will keep people watching. You believe you're creating a story, but all you're doing is erecting a barrier between you and reality. So while Nike is busy shoving Aja Wilson's shoes down everyone's throats, believing they have the next great thing, the fact is that they are backing the wrong horse. Caitlin is the real deal, the genuine narrative, and while Aja is stuck on her victim complex, Caitlin is dominating. Nike, have greater luck next time. You should have seen who the true queen is, but instead you're stuck with a character whose story is fading quicker than her importance. If irony were a sport, Aja would be the MVP in that league as well. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark is smashing records, putting up legendary statistics, and doing everything a great superstar does. But Nike wants to pitch Aja as if she's the major attraction.
doesn't drive TV ratings. That's not what he does. That's who Asia Wilson is. But she has to adopt this mindset of, I'm owed this, and you white girls need to back your ass up while I get what's owed to me. It's all just it's endless reparations.
Nike is so focused on promoting Aja as the WNBA's face that they are entirely neglecting the league's true face, Caitlin Clark, the genuine star and highlight reel. Maybe Nike missed the memo, but audiences prefer to watch skill than turmoil. This is more than simply a marketing disaster, it's an outright humiliation. The disparity between Aja's self-proclaimed struggle and who is actually crushing it on the court is astounding. But, well, keep promoting that story, Aja, since it is working so beautifully for everyone but you.
Doesn't sell shoes, doesn't drive TV ratings. That's not what he does. That's who Asia Wilson is. But she has to adopt this mindset of, I'm owed this, and you white girls need to back your ass up while I get what's owed to me. It's all just it's endless reparations.
Caitlin Clark is busy setting records and making history, whereas Aja is out here moaning and stirring up controversy to be relevant. She's attracting gigantic audiences that you can only dream about. While Caitlin's games had 1.8 million people riveted to their screens, Aja's games only had 900,000 viewers. The stats don't lie, and they're definitely not in your favor, Aja. So, while you're complaining about privilege, Caitlin Clark is out here demonstrating that she's the true star everyone wants to see.
The ratings, I believe 2 Sundays ago with Caitlin Clark, she drew 1.8 million viewers on an NFL Sunday. This past NFL Sunday, Asia Wilson drew 900,000 viewers, which that was the Aces Liberty game. That's actually 300,000 more than I thought. I thought it would drop to around 600,000.
It is almost heartbreaking. You have amazing skill, Aja, but instead of using it to propel yourself to new heights, you are using your platform to point fingers and complain about imagined slights. Perhaps if you spent less time attempting to play the victim and more time embracing your role as a sports leader, people would be talking about your game rather than your complaints.
The Las Vegas Aces are on the brink of being eliminated from the WNBA playoffs, and recently they have been in the news for all the wrong reasons.
Caitlin Clark is garnering attention not because she is white, but because she lights up the court every time she plays. Meanwhile, you stand there arms crossed, yelling at the wind, hoping that someone will believe your story, and hoping you'll win another championship, but that's looking unlikely, isn't it?
And with their last loss to the Liberty, Becky Hammon had some interesting things to say about her players and how it feels being down 0-2.
What are you saying to your team in that moment? And just related to this is a 2-time defending championship team. This is a team that obviously knows what it needs to do. Why is it not happening on this in a way it didn't in either 22 or 23 playoffs?
Well, quite frankly, we haven't had the edge. Well, we found it the last month. I feel like we've gained a lot of ground, but the feel was different from the jump. And this is why 3-peating is hard. Let's be real. Like, the whole league has been pissed off for the last 8 months, and my players are in commercials and this and that and being freaking celebrities, and you get distracted. That's why it's hard.
It's crazy that she throws her team under the bus here and says that her players are in commercials and being celebrities, and that's why they're...
Here's some advice. Look in the mirror before preaching to others about privilege. You're sitting there, taking advantage of every opportunity that comes with your rank and skills, yet you act as if the world is against you. It is almost hilarious. The world isn't rolling its eyes at your troubles because they don't understand them. They're rolling their eyes because they can see straight through your charade. Instead, than relying on your outdated narrative, consider highlighting your talent.